Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another, well, I usually call these videos a full face or a nearly full face of makeup from a certain brand, and the brand I want to focus on today is e.l.f, but looking at the products from e.l.f that I own, I just have base products, so I've got a foundation and a concealer and then bronzer, blusher, highlighter. So unfortunately I don't have any eyeshadows, I don't have any lip products, I've just got those base products. But I still wanted to do this video anyway because I want to see how all of those face products from e.l.f that I own work together. And then I can use, say, the blusher, bronzer and highlighter as eyeshadows as well. So I'm going to multitask with a couple of the products and just sort of show you guys what I think about them whilst I'm applying them. Little disclaimer before I get started, I'm not a makeup artist, I'm not a professional, so if you're here looking for expertise, for professional guidance, this video isn't for you. But if you just like watching your average makeup consumer apply makeup to their face and see what they think, then this is probably for you. So please stick around, I'd love to have you here. So I'll zoom you in and then we can get started. So I've already primed with my Trini BFF cream, so I'm going to go straight in with foundation now, and the one that I have is the e.l.f Flawless Finish Foundation and I am in the shade Natural. And I think this is meant to be quite a good dupe for the NARS Natural Radiance foundation, I think. Now I've not tried any NARS foundations, so I can't say whether it is a good dupe for it, but I wanted to give this a try anyway. Now here on YouTube, this product gets really contrasting reviews. Some people really love it, whereas some people find it quite sort of drying and not good for those that have dry skin. So my skin is more kind of oily combination. I do have some dehydration sort of in my cheeks, but I get along with this foundation pretty well, and the shade Natural is a really good match for me. I quite like the bottle as well. It's frosted glass, or frosted glass effect, I think it is. Plastic, I'm not too sure, but it's got that frosted finish, looks really nice, looks a little bit expensive, nice square, clean packaging, and the lid comes off and you've got a pump. So it's quite a thick foundation that's not really running down my fingers, so I'm just going to start off with one pump and we'll see how far this one pump goes. And I think this is meant to be a medium coverage foundation, and based on past experience using this foundation I think I would probably agree with that. And I like to use your more medium full coverage foundations with a sponge just to sheer it out ever so slightly and to get a more flawless finish. I find if I use a brush with my medium to full coverage foundations, I don't like the finish. You can kind of see brush strokes, even though I try not to use too much, because if you get brush strokes that means you've used too much foundation. But I just like the finish with a sponge. So this seems to be blending in pretty well. So this is one pump of foundation. So looking a bit more closely in my dirty mirror, the coverage I'd probably say is medium. You can still see, you know, some scarring from some spots. I've got a new one here. So I definitely need a bit more coverage. I think I'm going to go in with another half a pump. I think one more pump might be too much. Okay, so that's a second layer of foundation, not all over my face. I just sort of concentrated it here where I've got a breakout, here where I've got some sort of scarring, and then just sort of like on my forehead as well. But I feel like that's provided an extra bit of coverage that I needed without looking cakey, hopefully. And I think the colour is a good colour match for me, hopefully. I really like how this foundation looks. I think it looks really lovely. I mean, I don't have dry skin, I don't have patches of dry skin, so I think that is where some people find that they don't get on with this foundation. But on my skin, I think this looks pretty nice. Okay, concealer next, and I've got the 16-hour Camo Concealer, and I'm in the shade Light Sand. Shade-wise, I think this is a really good shade match for me. I'm not the biggest fan of this formulation though. This is very drying, and I did put up a comparison video between this one and the Tarte Shape Tape. I'll link it here if you haven't seen it. And this concealer is a lot more drying. It's very stubborn. You have to work quite quickly with it. So what I tend to do is I tend to put concealer under both eyes, leave it a minute and then blend it in. But with this concealer, I find that when I do that and I come to blending in on the second eye, it's really sort of started to set, so it makes it a lot more difficult to blend out that concealer. So what I find is best to do with this concealer is to apply it under one eye, leave it for a minute, then blend it in, do the same with the other eye, and then do the same with any blemishes. So that is what I'm going to do now. And it's a big doe foot applicator, it's not a really sort of skinny one. So I'm just gonna put some under my eye like that, and then I'll leave it for a minute and blend it in. Okay, minute gone, just blending this in with the same damp beauty sponge. It's not a beauty blender, it's a Real Techniques one. So that is blending in pretty well, but I think if I was to leave that longer than a minute, this would definitely be more tricky to blend in. And that's the difference between concealer and no concealer. So I haven't put colour corrector on, and I do usually do that. So you can see some of my dark circles poking out underneath the concealer, but I think it's done a pretty good job at covering my dark circles. Okay, same thing on the other eye. Same on any blemishes. Do you see that that's drying quite quickly? That's quite difficult to sort of blend in. Might use my finger, maybe the heat of my fingers will help blend that in a bit more. Concealer fully blended in. This isn't my favourite concealer. I think out of the ones that I own, this is my least favourite, just because the formulation is quite tricky to work with. It is quite drying, you have to work quite quickly with it, otherwise it can be quite stubborn and it is then quite difficult to blend in. So I wouldn't buy this one again, but I do want to try their hydrating version of this concealer. I have heard that one is much better than this one, but I just want to get this one used up and then it's out of my collection, but it's okay. Okay, I've just powdered my entire face, so that is how the foundation and concealer are looking with powder over the top. I'm now going to go in with a bit of bronzer and blusher, and I'm going to use my e.l.f. contouring blush and bronzing powder in the shade St. Lucia. So you have a bronzer here. This isn't hugely pigmented, so it's quite nice for kind of building up that pigment. I think this is possibly too red based for me. And then you've got your blusher, which is more pigmented than the bronzer, and it's a nice kind of apricot-y peachy colour. It is a little bit, it looks a little bit shimmery in the pan here, and if you know me, you know that I don't like a shimmery blusher. I say that so many times on my channel, but this doesn't look shimmery on my face, it just has a little bit of an iridescence, so the blusher really is quite pretty. So I'm going to go in with the bronzer first. I'm going to use a cream cheek brush by Zoeva. And I'm just going to focus this on my cheekbones. But can you see how it's not hugely pigmented? You're really having to sort of dip your brush in quite a few times to pick up any pigment. And also the pans are quite big, but I think they're really thin, so I think you could get through this pretty quickly if you focused on this. Okay, bronzer done, I think. So that is what it looks like. So fairly subtle. You do have to really build up that pigment if you want much more of a bronze look. So I'm going to go in with this blusher next, which is that sort of shimmery peachy colour, and I'm using a mini, what is this? A mini multitask brush by Real Techniques. So straight away you can kind of see how much more pigmented this blusher is compared to the bronzer. So there we go, blusher done. Really, really pretty colour. There is a little bit of shimmer in there, but it's not glitter. It's not sort of like specks of gold, which I think is kind of my problem with the Sleek Rose Gold blush, but this one is a lot more pretty. So I'm going to go in with a highlighter next. Now if you saw my, what was it, my recently shot my stash video, and I spoke about this e.l.f. baked highlighter in the shade Moonlight Pearls, I said in that video that I'm going to declutter this product, and I am, but I still wanted to include it in this video anyway to show you guys how it performs. And what I don't really like about this product is the lack of pigmentation. Now that might sound a little bit contradictory because I personally don't like a real blinding highlighter, but this is so frustrating to use because you have to use so much of it to get any type of shimmer on your face. It's just really frustrating. The colour itself is really pretty though, but this is a really difficult product to use to concentrate your highlighter, say under your eyebrows or down the bridge of your nose. It's just more of a wash of a little bit of shimmer on your face. So I need to get a new highlighter brush, but because I know how poorly this product applies, I'm going to use more of a concentrated brush. So this is a Morphe, doesn't actually say, it's just a slanted eyeshadow brush. So this is going to help me concentrate this highlighter a little bit more on my cheekbones. Can you see? Quite subtle. I mean, it's very pretty, but I've got better highlighters than this. Right, let's see how this blusher and bronzer perform on the eyes. So I have primed with MAC Painterly, nearly forgot what it is, and then I put MAC Blank Type over the top. So let's put some of this bronzer through the crease and see what happens. Just on a big sort of like fluffy brush from Zoeva. Again, you're having to build up this pigment quite a bit. I mean, can you even see it? Yeah, you can see a difference up close. Okay, bronzer underneath my eyes and in the crease. So very, very subtle, nothing too kind of blinding or too pigmented. You really, really do have to build up the pigment with that bronzer. Okay, I'm going to take a slanted eyeshadow brush from Zoeva and I'm going to see what this blusher looks like on the eyes. Can you even see that? These aren't performing well on the eyes at all. If only I had those e.l.f. quads, you know, like the was it cream and sugar and the mint one. There's also like the mauvey pink one. Those look really good and I've heard lots of good things about those. So it might just be that the base products don't perform well on the eyes, but it's a powder. You should be able to multitask your products like this. Okay, I'm just trying the highlighter on my eyes. I've got some NYX glitter primer underneath, so hopefully, oh yes, this can stick to it a bit better. I didn't like the blusher on my eyes. That had a lot of fallout. I had to just sweep a lot of the fallout from underneath my eyes. But this highlighter Just got my nail in it. This highlighter with the NYX glitter primer, it's pretty nice. Pretty. Yeah, that highlighter works so much better as an eyeshadow instead of just a face highlighter, but I don't like the bronzer and the blusher as eyeshadows. A lot of fallout, not really that pigmented, pretty poor performance. But as pretty as that highlighter looks on my eyes, I've got eyeshadows that perform like this. I don't need to keep hold of that highlighter to achieve this look. And also, I don't think it's really good as a face highlighter as well, so I am going to get rid of that. But I do quite like it on the eyes, it's very pretty. So this is the finished look. I have put some eyebrows on, some mascara and some lips. So what do you guys think? Okay, my battery's flashing at me, so I think I need to wrap this up. So my views on the products from e.l.f. that I own. I think the foundation is really lovely. I think that gives a really nice sort of medium to full coverage. I think that looks really pretty on my skin. The concealer is too drying, it's too stubborn, and I wouldn't repurchase that again, but I think the shade match is pretty good. The bronzer's too red based and it's not really that pigmented, so you really have to use up a lot to get your face to look bronzed enough. The blusher is really pretty, I do like how that blusher looks. The highlighter I'm not a fan of, but I think it looks quite pretty on the eyes, so I will still be decluttering that product. If you have tried any other products from e.l.f. like the lipsticks or like the eyeshadow quads that I mentioned, please let me know. Let me know if you think they are worth trying. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you again soon in my next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.